you all for being here today. I wanted to provide an update of where we stand from the City of St. Louis on our ongoing budget discussions. As I shared last week, the board submitted the estimated expenditures of the fiscal year 2027. That's $250 million, and we will move forward with our estimated expenditures, which was voted on and approved by the Board of Police Commissioners on February 25th. $250 million reflects roughly about 18% of the city's general revenue and demonstrates what Chief Tracy needs to operate the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department efficiently and to fulfill his mission to deliver the highest standard of public safety to the residents and visitors of St. Louis. In a rare and unprecedented move to ensure we remain transparent and accountable to our officers and our community, we have opened our doors to something that doesn't always make news headlines, but it's absolutely to the public safety, the conditions of our facilities that our officers and professional staff work in every day. The Transition Director, Derek Winters, and the SLMPD are preparing to take ownership of more than 24 properties, across the city. Throughout this budget process, and as a part of our expenditure request, we must ensure the appropriate amount of money that is transferred to the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department to help us care for the additional properties. Significant deferred maintenance has accumulated across numerous police facilities throughout the city of St. Louis. We wanted to bring you here today to our supply division to show firsthand what has occurred over the years. I want to be perfectly clear, though, this did not happen under Mayor Spencer's leadership. These are issues that did not arise overnight, but there are many repairs that need immediate attention. For her administration to suggest that the issues can be fixed with a similar budget, which was prepared in the exact same fashion 1 year ago, is not accurate, and it's unfortunately unfair. The men and women of this department have hard enough jobs as it is, and to ask these to continue to work under conditions is not right, as they risk their lives to serve the city of St. Louis. These buildings are not just offices, they are operational hubs, which cops and professional staff begin their shifts, store equipment, and coordinate emergency responses when lives are on the line. Right now, we are identifying critical repairs and infrastructures needed across the 24 locations. Ensuring these buildings are safe and operational requires sustainable funding and long-term planning. As President of the Board of Commissioners, I'm requesting the Department of Budget and Finance and Audit Committee to explore hiring a third-party contractor that can submit an evaluation to the Board of Police Commissioners regarding repairs needed at these properties to bring them up to standard working conditions. From day one, I've said we are committed to providing the men and women of the police department the tools they need to serve the city of St. Louis and to make us one of the best police departments in the country. As we move through the budget process, it's important for all of us to understand that facility maintenance is a real and measurable cost of operating a modern police department. Our goal is simple: responsible investment that supports public safety and protects taxpayers' resources. The department's initial property list has been submitted to the City of St. Louis by the Transition Director, Derek Winters, and the board will work towards responsible decisions regarding the transfer of operations of properties and long-term strategic capital plan to improve the ones we acquire. At this time, I'd like to invite Chief Tracy up to share more about these issues and the impact on the department's operations. Chief Tracy.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, President Saraceno, and thank you for coming today and allowing us to give you a peek behind the curtain and the conditions that our staff and personnel operate in. While we understand that our department is not only a department that faces these challenges, we now are in a position where we have the responsibility to address and repair some of the issues that you're going to see today. Across multiple facilities, we are seeing aging infrastructure such as HVAC systems struggling to keep up, aging roofs, water intrusion, plumbing issues, even falling stone from some of our buildings. Just as a side note, the pictures of our crime lab on the poster board are not areas of the building where evidence is processed, to make sure that you know that we're keeping evidence. It's an outside area, but not compromising the evidence in process. Police buildings and support facilities operate 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, including holidays. Because our officers and civilian personnel work 24/7, our facilities need to support that mission. Unlike your standard government buildings, these facilities support patrol operations, investigations, specialized units, fleet operations, and as you hear, supplies. When infrastructure fails, it can affect operations, response readiness, and the overall work environment. The men and women of this department work incredibly hard to serve St. Louis, and they deserve facilities that are safe, reliable, and functional. Properly maintained buildings help ensure officers can focus on their mission and also their main mission, protecting the public. Responsible funding helps us maintain these facilities proactively rather than waiting until problems become more costly. I appreciate everyone's time, and now we're going to open it up to some questions.
President Saraceno, you brought us here to show us a building in disrepair and make the case that the department needs more money. But before you show us the dilapidated basement, I want to read you something from the city's adopted budget for FY26. That's this year, page 187. I'll quote directly. It says $16.4 million has been incorporated into the budget to accommodate, and I'm quoting, SLMPD's support services, including facilities and equipment services. That money's already in this year's budget. It's appropriated. It's sitting there right now for you to spend. How much of that $16.4 million have you spent upgrading facilities like this?
Well, you know that the properties have not been transferred over to us yet fully and completely. Our job right now is to look at the estimated of what is needed to repairs. Hopefully, as you take it back, as behind the curtain scene, you'll make that judgment to see what is going to be needed throughout the process. This is a large undertaking that we will take, and so we are looking at that. It may be enough, it may not. As we've originally seen, I think that still remains to be seen.
But you're asking me to judge. This is your budget proposal.
I'm not asking you to judge the budget proposal. I'm just asking that as you see what we are undertaking is what we're going to look at to be repaired, to bring up to the standards that we expect for the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department.
So if that money doesn't get spent in fiscal year 2026, does that carry over? Walk us through what happens.
I think it's too early to make that assessment. I think we have to go through hopefully a third-party evaluation to look at what's going on behind the scenes. Of course, I'm not an expert on building maintenances, but I do know by the looks of things that the quality and standards are not up to the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department standards that we need for our officers.
The department gets $208 million a year. When's the last time the department actually spent its full budget amount? It usually doesn't come close to spending the full amount.
It's been run under the St. Louis City Police control, under state control. At least under a Board of Police Commissioners, we're looking at every opportunity to improve public safety and how that works. That's through infrastructure, that's through investing in the men and women of our department, and through every other aspect that we can deliver the quality St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department that it deserves, that our citizens deserve.
You said you're bringing in a contractor to look at this and give you guys a quote on what the repair cost would be?
We are evaluating every aspect, sir, to bring this up to speed, to have experts come in, independent folks that would come in and give us an evaluation, yes.
So how do you know how much to ask for fiscal year 27 then if they haven't come in and taken a look yet?
We have actually put a placeholder in place, and we don't think, based upon what we are seeing right now, that would be suffice, but we will see. We are committed to transparency and accountability. That's the one thing that this commission, that our commissioners are committed to, transparency and accountability of us as commissioners. We are citizens of the city of St. Louis. We've been appointed, we've been confirmed, and we are accountable to that. And that's what our job is to do. Continue our accountability to the citizens of the city of St. Louis.
And what is that placeholder number?
can't recall that.
I think it just starts at
15 million, but
Are these disrepairs simply a budget issue? You say that it goes back years and years, or are there other accountability or failures along the lines as far as implementing repairs or construction?
as a board of police commissioners, in each one of us as commissioners, we came into this. We are seeing this for relatively for the first time as well. I mean, these are issues that were brought up to us to support Chief Tracy and his operations, and we're taking a first-hand look at how we are handling these things.
Sure, but what have you been told? I mean, people are telling you about the disrepairs or
You'll see through the pictures, so what we've seen through pictures, what we've visited firsthand, these are not conditions that we are proud to put our professional workforce in the St. Louis Limited Police Department that serve our community and have a very dangerous job, and those types of, that type of environment for them to work in. We want to improve those.
Local governments are not the only place that law enforcement can look for funds. As you well know, state governments, federal governments often provide grants or funding streams. For example, the Trump administration is offering up to $7,500 per trained officer, $100,000 per vehicle, and overtime funding to departments that participate in ICE enforcement operations. Would you consider partnering with the Trump administration if it meant unlocking those funds for the department? I'm asking you, President, the board.
No, you didn't direct that.
I'm asking you and the board.
But the board does governance, the chief does operations, and the operation.
These are some of the things that I would suggest to the board, Mark. And when we take a look at that, they're all competitive grants. There's no automatic. You can't count on grants. You got to make sure that you have your budget in place. That one I have to take a look at, but right now we have not applied for that, so I want to be clear. But it's something we look at all grants to see if does that fit in what we need to do. And certainly there's a lot of politics around that grant, as you know, that there's more things to consider before you would apply for a grant like that, in fairness.
And just so we're clear, are you saying that would be your decision alone, or at what point would the board come into that decision?
I would make the recommendations just as if you've been at board meetings, you want to talk about transparency. I worked straight for the strong mayoral administrations, and now this is the first time working for a state board. As you can see, any contract or anything or RFP that's out there, that goes before the board's consideration, and then I can make those recommendations to the board. They take consideration, they vote on it, should I move forward, and then if we're awarded it, they also have to make sure that they look at it, hold everybody accountable, and then they vote on accepting those type of contracts, as a city council will do.
President Green has said that she's going to vote no on any police budget proposal beyond the maximum required, and that the Board of Commissioners doesn't have to make the same trade-offs that basically other city departments do. So how, given that you don't have, it would seem, the support of 2 or 3 members of B&A, how does this move forward?
It's the interpretation of legislation that we will work off of.
If
Well,
you're-
sure,
if you're-
just for clarification, I was wrong, it was 25 million. That's my fault.
So
25
for the placeholder number?
Yes.
Okay.
How do you arrive at the conclusion that you're entitled to RAM's settlement funds? How is that a general revenue stream?
It's an interpretation of the legislation.
What's your
I
reaction?
asked you how, I understand that. You've
It's
stated
all in
that. I
the-
asked you how you arrived at that conclusion. I just got off the phone with Paul Payne. He said you only earn revenue once. I can't think of a worse budget practice than that to do. That's just bad budgeting. You're counting fund balances left over from years past, trying to swoop that into the denominator. It seems like you're just trying to count a whole lot of dollars that are in pots that that you're not entitled to.
It depends on who's looking at the entitlement. And if we do not look at every aspect of what we should have available to our St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, then we are not doing the job the correct way. We are trying to be, we are working to be, and we are committed to be transparent and accountable to those actions.
What's your reaction to Mayor Simpson saying the city cannot afford what police are asking?
We believe that we have the right to an allocated fund based on the legislation, and we're trying to make our investment. Our goal as a board is to invest in our officers, in the public safety of our city. That's what our goal is, to invest in this, and this is the time. The time is now. I mentioned it last week. The time is now. Investment is now. Our city needs that, and we're in a good position and a good opportunity to do that. We have a great chief in place. our men and women, the morale of the department has certainly changed over the last few months. We are showing that we can support a police department that's properly funded, that is properly given the proper tools and resources to make the best officers we can possibly make out on that street.
I want to go back to the placeholder number if we can. It's $25 million for the placeholder number. How did you arrive at that $25 million, and why not just use last year's number as a placeholder, especially when you don't know the estimated cost of all these repairs?
So those were the buildings that were currently needed funding, and then those as well as that will need funding that will come over to us as well. It's an additional more of the buildings that will come over to us that we will inherit, and not knowing that infrastructure of those buildings.
Most capital improvement budgets include 5, 10, 15-year layouts for improvements well off into the future. Is that part of your calculation, or are you hoping to spend all of this in one calendar year, one fiscal year?
I keep using that word accountability and transparency to the budget as well. So if we can layer things in, and obviously as we need to, we take the assessment of these buildings and layer them in and look at the different lengths of times that they may need the service done to those buildings, we'll layer that in. We are leaving a lot of options on the table. This is not necessarily anything that we have to say that we have all the answers right now, but we've been given a responsibility, and that's what we are working very hard, and we are very committed to that responsibility.
When do you all expect to have that third-party estimate?
It's early in the process, in this whole deal here, so we'll hopefully work with Transition Director Derek Winters, some of our men and women with the department to go through that process. If it's a third-party independent evaluator, if that seems to be a good direction to go, that's definitely what we'll take.
If you're saying $250 million is 18%, then basic math says that 24% is $333 million. You acknowledge that, right?
We are committed. We are staying committed to the allocated funds we, as a commissioners, that we ratified on February 25th. That question's been answered. We are standing by the number of 250 that we ratified on February 25th.
I'll ask it a different way then. If you have to go before a judge and persuade that judge that the police department is entitled to RAMS money,
I don't want to speculate on
how would you, well then persuade the public. How would you persuade the public that the police department is entitled to RAMS money?
We're committed to finding the necessary line items within the general revenue fund of the city of St. Louis that it should be allocated to the police department. That will be the legal interpretation that our legal counsel will continue to work on and advise us.
Just as a citizen of St. Louis, does that make sense? Money won in a lawsuit that dated back to the NFL team for decades. How is that for general revenue as opposed to extraordinary?
I think there's a difference in what you're saying that we potentially are asking for, that what we would use. There's two different deals here. We're looking at that we are committed to making sure that we're responsible with the funds and to make sure that the budget for the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department supports Chief Tracy and the men and women and the professional staff that works with us.
We're talking a lot about dollars and cents, but maybe the most valuable currency that police have is public trust.
Correct.
Are you worried at all that in inflating these budget asks and making these big, claims that you can have all this money that isn't in general revenue? No one anywhere has ever considered that to be part of general revenue. Are you worried that you're squandering public trust, that you're getting bad legal advice?
No, I think we are trying to encourage and working towards building public trust for all communities, and knowing that we are doing a transparent job, an accountable job that will hold all of us as commissioners accountable and our department accountable. That's how we build trust.
There's no shortage of city buildings that are sort of rough shape. I remember not too long ago, a piece of City Hall flew off and hit the mayor's car. Do you have any concerns about that if the police just have nicer facilities overall, and I don't know, if the refuse department, other sort of civil service, it could create tension or something like that?
I think, as I mentioned last week again, that city services, that the city, the workforce of the city of St. Louis are very valuable to me as a citizen of St. Louis. Being reckless would not be very smart on our part personally. But so yeah, we would have to take all those types of things in consideration as far as just making sure that we are working and being a collaborative partner with the city of St. Louis, no question.
Have you seen any of the pushback from some of the public on social media? Some critics have called for boycotting or no longer going to businesses that some of the commissioners own. Have you felt that? What's your response to that?
Everybody's entitled to their opinion. To comment on people's opinions is just,
But have you seen that at your business? Is it bothering you?
everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm trying to do the responsible job for the St. Louis Board of Police Commissioners and for the men and women of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. That's what I'm committed to do. Everybody else is entitled to their opinion, and that's the way the world works.
Are you guys ready for the tour?
Just one more procedure question, just what are the next steps? What are the next steps for after, now that the budget's been certified? What are your next steps?
Our next steps is to get to the table with the city of St. Louis to get a number that works for both the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department and the city of St. Louis. That's our next step.
What if the city says, no, we're not going to do it? Then what?
I don't want to speculate on that. That's too early to tell. Hopefully we can be collaborative partners. I mean, that's the goal here. The goal is to be collaborative partners, to work with the city, and for the city to work with the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, to have the best city we can possibly have, with to not hurt public safety in any way, and continue to support the men and women of the department.
Your lawyer has used strong language like the funds you're entitled to, though. Are you prepared to sue in court for that?
We can bring you guys downstairs now, okay?
President Saraceno, are you prepared to sue for those funds?
I won't speak for our legal counsel.
He has said that you're entitled to these
We're gonna get
funds.
ready
Is
to
that
go.
okay?